moved to Champaign to start Anchor Church. And there's Anchor Church. This is where we are. We moved here in 2019. At the end of 2019, we moved to Champaign to start a church. We didn't know anybody when we moved here. We just did. And man, it went through all kinds of phases. So February comes and we're like, what's going on in the world? March comes and we thought, okay, well, you know, I guess we're going to have to cancel programs in person for about 2 weeks. We can get through that. That's not going to be a big deal. Then 2 weeks became 6 weeks. And at 6 weeks, we were like, okay, let's start doing some things. So you're going to go to the next slide, Lauren. We did a lot of online stuff. There's me with hair, if you can believe it. We even filmed our dog. That's Albert over there. We've got some of our friends in the back. This is actually our first worship leader, Michael. So we've had Michael, Megan, and Willie lead worship for us. They're there. You can see all the boxes. So we eventually, once 6 weeks became, who knows how long this thing will last, we decided to still launch the church, but we did it online, and we did all these videos and stuff. We did it online, but to make it special, we dropped off 50 boxes with like experience kits in them, little ribbons you can cut, you do your own ribbon cutting, a little communion you can do at home, and we dropped them off at all these houses. We said, we are going to endure, we're going to press on, we're going to adapt, we're going to overcome, this is going to happen. And then, what did it for me was the first time we had to cancel a worship service because someone was exposed to COVID, and I'm like, this is over. I'm done. It's not gonna work. I had all kinds of questions and doubts and fears, and I just had that gut punch. Like, all our momentum is toasted, it's over. Hannah, on the other hand, I tell you, she gets this reputation. If you've met Hannah, you know she's on top of things, she's organized, but you may get the wrong impression about her. You might think that she's rigid and can't adapt. She is far more able to adapt and far more flexible than I am. So during that time when I am a wreck, she's like, we'll just take it one day at a time, we'll see what we can do, let's make it happen. And I'm like, let's call it, it's over, we're done for. And man, did I have questions. Man, did I want to ask God, why would you send us here just months before a pandemic hit? How is this going to work? Is any of this actually going to work? I'm curious about you. I'm not going to ask you, but I'm going to ask you to ask yourself, when was that for you? When you had lots of questions for God. And you're asking God maybe on an every day you wake up and you're like, why, God? Why? We have questions, don't we? Isn't that interesting when we face really hard times, difficult times, we get the bad news from a doctor, we have someone walk out on us, we lose someone we love. When we hit these real hard trials, what do we want? We want answers. There's something in our soul that says that if I could just know a little more, it'll make all this bearable. And so today we're going to ask the question, how can we trust a God we don't understand? How can we hold on to faith when we don't get any of those answers? Okay? So what we've got here is, we're going to start with the first thing we do is demand. Demand, not this one yet. We'll go back to that one. I don't know if it's in the right order. Demand. Put up that slide for demand. Do you mind? Nope, not that one. It's always the very end. Sorry. Yeah, we're going to be flipping around. Demand. Here, I think is how you say it in Spanish. I don't know if we have any of the Spanish speakers here today with us, but if you're learning your Spanish, we've got it down there. Demand. You might be surprised. What do we demand? When you need answers from God, what do you demand? Well, you don't demand answers, and you don't demand that God does everything you want Him to do. What do you demand? Well, we're going to look at the story of Moses. Moses, if you're familiar, he was called by God to be used to rescue Israel out of slavery in Egypt. And so he's 80 years old, and he's called to do this crazy work, to stand up before the most powerful nation on the planet. And and through all the plagues and through these miracles, he had the whole army chasing after them, and then the sea parts so that they can go on the other side. Just crazy. I would think after that, I'd want a good night's rest. I would want to take a few months off. I'd be wiped, tired. But Moses doesn't have that luxury because immediately on the other side of the Red Sea, they're in the wilderness. These are former slaves in the wilderness. What are they going to do? They don't have any food. They don't have any water. So they're crying out to God. They say, God, we haven't drank anything in 3 days. Give us some water. And God miraculously provides for them. And then he brings them to the mountain, Mount Sinai, and he calls them to himself. He has a covenant with them. It's like a marriage ceremony. He says, I want you to be my people, and I'll be your God. You'll be my treasured possession. You'll be my representatives to the whole nations. Notice this. These are people, they don't have anything. They just barely got out with their lives, and now they're called to this great work. And then he says, okay, here's how you're going to do it. Here are some commands. First off, no other gods. Secondly, no idols. Then Moses goes up the mountain, spends some time with God. God tells him more things. He comes down the mountain to see that they broke those commandments. I mean, my goodness, the honeymoon wasn't even over, and they already cheated on God. So Moses goes back up and he defends the people, and he says, what are we going to do? And here's what God says. He says, I'm going to still let you get into the promised land. Oh. He says to Moses, he says, I'm going to send an angel, though. I'm not going to go with you anymore. I'm too mad at you guys. God says that. He says, I'll send an angel to take you into the promised land. And this is where the demand comes from. So if you go all the way back, Lauren, all the way to Exodus 33, it might have been like the third slide on there. Keep going, keep going, keep going. Exodus 33. I think there it is. Here's what Moses says. Here's his demand. He says to God, if your presence does not go with us, do not send us from here. How will anyone know that you are pleased with me and with your people unless you go with us? He's not very pleased with people, actually. What else will distinguish me and your people from all the other people on the face of the earth? Here's what I think about. I think of Moses being invited on a show of Deal or No Deal. You guys seen Deal or No Deal, right? You guys know Deal or No Deal? Howie Mandel. So imagine, we got a slide for that. You don't need to put it up, but if you find the slide, it's somewhere. You saw it already. There's an offer. And Moses is doing really well. And Howie Mandel says, the banker's making an offer over $100,000 can be yours. And Howie is really dragging this on, and he says, how would your life change with $100,000? And Moses is thinking about that, like, ooh, that's a lot of money. That's a lot of dough. I could do a lot. And he's thinking, oh, I could buy my mama a house. Isn't that what everyone always says? I'll buy my mama a house. I'll get out of debt. I'll set my family up for success. He's thinking this is going to be great. And Howie says, deal or no deal? And the music is playing, it's all intense, and we're wondering, what will Moses do? Well, Moses surprised everybody because he says, no deal to any of it. He says, I don't want the money the banker's offering me. I don't want anything in any of the cases. He says, I don't want any of the money as long as you, Howie Mandel, go to my barbecue this Saturday. If you come to my barbecue, that's all I need. It's like, Moses, you can have everything. You get the promised land. You're going to get there. It's okay. He says, don't send me there unless you go with me. Think about that. In our worst times, what do we want? We want answers. We want success. We want to be pulled out of this terrible situation. We want relief. We want it all to end. We want to feel better again. We want a check in the mail. We want a miraculous diagnostic. We want a loved one to come back. We want God to move. We want Him to do something. But somehow Moses says, none of that's really worth anything. The destination doesn't matter if I don't have the presence. And Moses says, I don't care about the promised land. I don't care about it. I can be stuck here in the wilderness. He says, we're not going to go unless you go. There's nothing there in the wilderness. He says, I don't mind. We'll stay in the wilderness so long as you stay with us. If you don't go, we don't go. What do we learn from Moses? We learn that, I've got a slide for this, is understanding informs, but only intimacy can transform. Understanding informs, but intimacy, the presence of God, is worth so much more than anything else we can get. How do we trust in a God we don't understand? Well, the first thing we do is we know what's most important. We demand. We demand. Not answers, not success, not the promised land. We demand the presence of God. You know, when you demand God to give you something, a lot of times He'll say no. I don't know about you, but I've demanded and I've asked and I've begged God to do something for me, and I don't get it. But do you know, when I wait for the presence of God, it always comes. In some degree. So we demand. Next thing we do, we learn from Moses, is we file. We file. File things away. How many of you guys would say you are more organized than the average person? How many of you would say you're less organized than the average person? Oh, that's funny. There's more of you to admit that you're less. Maybe we're just a humble group. Maybe. This week, I finally caved. Oh, and it kills me. Oh, man. I feel like I just let Apple win. Because this week, Hannah finally convinced me to pay $10 a month for storage. Oh. How many of you guys pay Apple for storage? Oh, doesn't it kill you? Every time you see that, you're like, what am I doing with my life? How do I just let you win in this one? But we looked it up, months ago. We looked up how much it would cost to get like an external thing and how hard it would be. Well, now that we got Ivy and now that her videos are, starting to pile up, we're like, I guess we need more storage. 2 terabytes though, so it'll be another couple months before we need to upgrade to $20 a month, right? But we file it away because there's some things we don't want to lose. There's some things we want to hold on to, and we file things away. Whether you're organized or not, you've got some things you hold on to. You file away. Well, I want you to hold on to secrets. Secrets. Hold on to the secrets. Here's what Moses says in Deuteronomy. So this is at the end of his life. He's speaking to the people of Israel. Deuteronomy 29:29, he says the secret things. Everybody say secret things.
Secret things.
The secret things belong to God. But the things revealed belong to us. And to our children forever, that we may follow all the words of the law. The secret things belong to the Lord our God. The secret things. What's Moses saying? He says, we've got a responsibility to follow God's wisdom, God's instruction, God's law. We've got a responsibility, but we can only do that with the things that He's revealed to us. We're not responsible to know everything. We're not responsible to kick open that door to the future and make everything happen and know exactly what it's going to look like. He says that belongs to God. God knows it, and He's okay. He's holding on to it. He's storing that. And so what one pastor, Mark Batterson, what he's done after he lost his dad, after his wife had a couple rounds of cancer, he decided to to open up a new file. He created a Deuteronomy 29:29 file. And he'll actually write out the secret things that belong to the Lord. It's like he hands it over to God. He says, I don't understand this. I don't know why this happened to me. I don't know why that happened to me. I don't know. I've tried. I've really, really tried to figure it out. But this is a Deuteronomy 29:29 moment. I'm going to hand it over to you. Some of you have some things to file away in your Deuteronomy 29:29 file. Maybe if you filed it away, maybe what might happen for you is you might find a little peace just to know that you've handed over your anxiety to God. Maybe if you file it away, you pull it out in a few years, and you're like, actually, I don't know the whole reason, but I actually see some good that came out of what I thought would never bring any good. You file it away and you look back and you might decide, wow, actually, God wasn't absent. Because this thing that I thought it couldn't have gotten any worse, it actually could have been worse. And man, you know, I might have lost the house, but I kept the car. Praise God for the car. You know what I'm saying? Like I lost this, but man, at least I was in a vulnerable spot, but then God seemed to open up the doors right when I needed Him. So we file away our secret things. This is how we trust God in the unknowable. We file them away. Why? Because understanding informs, intimacy, though, transforms. We want the presence of God. When we file away the secret things, we're deciding that it's okay. I can be at peace not knowing what I so desperately want to know, as long as I still have God with me. Here's what one speaker says. I believe her name was Anne. We do have a slide for it. She says that, the information can be cold. Let's see, I don't want to butcher the slide. Anne Voskamp says explanations can be cold, but His embrace is warm. How many of you know that? Like if you're really in need, you're in trouble, you call up a friend, the friend comes over, do you want them to spout their mouth for 3 hours about your situation and why you're dealing with such a hard time? Do you want them to explain you to death? No. How many of you were in a hard time? Maybe you lost somebody, had a terrible health crisis, and then you tried to avoid somebody because you knew that person would just talk your ear off with all these explanations. God has a plan for your life. This is going to work out for you. I just know it. And on and on. And how many of you have avoided that person who tries to explain things to you? Anybody willing to admit it? Because we don't want to explain. It's so weird because our hearts yearn. We're like, we need information. We want explanations. Then we get it. We're like, no thank you. No thank you. What do I really want? I want an embrace. I just need somebody here with me. I need somebody to just take on some of my suffering with me as best as they can to carry this burden because I can't carry it alone. I need the embrace. So when we ask God, we demand of God answers and information, and God says, I've got something way, way better for you. You can have my embrace. It's not a consolation prize. It's not just something because He's too weak or too stupid to answer your questions or too cruel to give you what you think you need. What if God is loving enough and wise enough to give you exactly what you need? What if the answers aren't really going to help like you think they will? But He's willing to give you His presence and His embrace. So what do? We demand, not answers. We demand presence. We file away when we absolutely come to the end and we don't know, and we say these are one of those secret things. We file in our Deuteronomy 29. And then thirdly, this isn't Moses, this is Job. You guys know about Job, right? You know about Job. He's kind of famous. How many of you guys want to trade places with Job? In the end, it turned out, I guess. I don't know. To me, it doesn't seem like the happiest ending when your family gets replaced. But he gets double the people. That seems weird to me. But things work out. If you don't know, if you're not familiar with the story of Job, it is wild. God and Satan have a conversation about Job. God even pinpointed him. He said, hey, Satan, have you considered Job? He says, Job is righteous. And I say, God, in Sunday school, I learned that nobody's righteous. But apparently God thought it was okay to call Job righteous. Weird. He says, why don't you, don't take his life, but take everything else. And that's what Satan did. Took his wealth, his health, his family. He was in a bad place. You know what his wife said? Do you guys remember? Anyone know what his wife told him?
Curse God and die.
Curse God and die. Not a good day. Not a good day. What's the story of Job about? What's the story about? What is Job trying to tell us? Well, the story is all about this question we always face is, why do bad things happen to Job? Was a righteous man. And yet, lots of bad things happen to him. So Job is trying to answer the question. So by the end of Job, you read the story of Job, and you should be able to answer the question, why do bad things happen to good people? And here's the answer. Well, occasionally, God and Satan have bets with each other over our lives to see if we're going to continue to be faithful. The story of Job doesn't tell us whether or not there were any additional bets after that. The story of Job really doesn't tell us why do bad things happen to good people. What does the story of Job tell us? The story of Job tells us we're never going to know why bad things happen to good people. Because we're the audience. We get to know from the very start, chapter 1, Satan talks to God. We get to know that. This is one of those rare occasions where the curtain is pulled back for us to know as the readers. And what's Job saying? That's not life. What's Job telling us? Job's telling us that we're Job in the story. We're not the audience in the story. What's Job telling us is that we don't get the curtain pulled back. The story of Job is telling us that there's no way you can ever really know why bad things are happening to you. Because never in a million years would you have guessed that God made a bet with Satan. You've got questions. And maybe you think, okay, I think I can figure out why this happened to me. You have no idea. You ask me, why is this happening to me? I have no idea why that's happening to you. For all I know, maybe God's feeling lucky today. I don't know. After the first round, Job does this. Here's what we have. Job chapter 1, he praises. Job chapter 1, he says, naked I came from my mother's womb. Naked I will depart. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. May the name of the Lord be praised. This is our prayer. When we're struggling, when we're suffering, when we're anxious we're going to lose something, when we're worried, this is our prayer. Naked I came from my mother's womb. I came into this world with absolutely nothing. Everything I have is a gift. Everything I have is a gift. It says, the Lord gave me everything I have, and it's His prerogative if He would like to take anything from me. He has that right. So what do? My response is, may the name of the Lord be praised. It says, I can be grateful for what I do have. And then the narrator tells us, in all this, Job did not sin by charging God with wrongdoing. This was the bet between God and Satan. Will he sin? Will he abandon God? God's been blessing him. It's easy to stay close to God when you're being blessed by God. How many of you guys know it's really easy to, have the friend who just keeps giving you stuff? Like, I can be your friend. But what about when God takes what He's given? Will you stick around with Him? He said, he didn't sin. What does that tell us about praise? Sometimes I feel like praise is here to make us happy, to lift our spirits. And I think that's a part of it, right? To strengthen us, to encourage us. But I don't know, at least here in Job, the purpose of praise isn't to make us happy, it's to make us holy. The purpose of praise is to keep us from sinning and charging God. It's to remind us that God is still good and everything good comes from God. The purpose of praise is to get us through these difficult times. where we don't have any answers. The story of Job is a story of suffering without answers. And what does Job do? He praises. So when you praise in the midst of your suffering, what you're doing is you're helping yourself keep from sinning. It may not make you feel better. What do they call it? A sacrifice of praise. You say, God, what is it? Naked I came from my mother's womb. The Lord gives, and the Lord takes away. Praise be the name of the Lord. It's funny, I look around and seeing a couple nods, I can just get the sense that you're nodding not just from the words I'm saying, but there's a wealth of experience. In this room, there's been an experience of pain and trials. And man, some of you guys I'm sure have endured and endured and endured. And when it felt like you could go on no more, the next train hit and you have praised God. And you've kept praising and kept praising. And sometimes things got better, and sometimes things got worse. And yet you determined, I will not sin by charging God with wrongdoing. What do? We can be honest with God, right? Yes. We can complain. The Psalms are full of complaints. We can ask our questions. We can say, how, God? How much longer, God? Why is this happening to me, God? But what we don't do, apparently, is we don't charge Him with wrongdoing. We still say, you are my Father, and I love you, and you are good, and all good things come from you, and beyond that, I just don't know. This week, what are you going to do? You're going to demand the presence of God. You're going to file away your secret things. And you're going to praise. Not to be happy, but to be holy. And we're going to endure. We're going to know that even though understanding informs, and we love understanding, we think that's all we need, it's really intimacy that transforms. So right now, would you just pray with me? Jesus, we want intimacy with the one who suffered on a cross. With the one who knew what it was like to feel abandoned by God. On the cross, Jesus, you cry out, my God, why? And yet you didn't sin. You continued to trust. And you left the secret things. You prayed, sweating drops of blood. You said, if there's any other way. Like, I don't know. I thought I knew all the ways. Maybe there's another way. But not my will, but yours be done. God, give us that kind of faith. Give us that kind of trust. God, we know and we admit that we have agonized and been just brutalized over trying to see why. Why, God? And how do we get out of this? And we've agonized to figure it out and put the pieces together, God. And we know that that's just led to more anxiety and more pain, like we've been just bashing the trauma with a hammer. So God, today and right now, from this point forward, we say, yes, we'd love to get answers, yes. But what we demand more than anything is your presence. So God, we demand it. God, we say like Moses, we're not leaving this place until we know you're going to go with us. God, we say we want your presence. We demand it. We beg you, be here. God, right now, I don't know what it's like for each one of us here, but God, in our own way, I pray that your presence, your spirit would indwell right now, God. Would you reveal yourself right now, because we're going to go out from this place. Monday's coming around, and we're going to face this world, and it's not going to be treating us right. So God, we say, as we go on that hard road, God, would you bring your presence with us?